Good morning, and thank you for joining us for SBB Live. I am your host and the publisher of Seniors Blue Book, Amanda Barton, and I'm excited today to bring on one of our partners from Fuller Funeral Home, Mr. Kim Borselli. How are you this morning?
Fine, Amanda. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks so much
Good.
for asking. So today is really about getting to know you as an individual and introducing you to our readers and our viewers. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came into the industry.
Well, originally from the Northeast, New Jersey to be exact. Ever since I was a little kid, it was something that I thought I always wanted to do. And after a career in motion pictures, I decided this was going to be my fallback. And that was back in 1979. So I've been doing it ever since. Love what I do.
Yeah, I love doing these videos because I learned so much about people's past life before they came into this career. I've had people tell me that they were on Broadway or in the opera. So tell me about your career in motion pictures. What was that like?
Well, that was my first love, really, and attended college and found out right then and there that we'd all be starving if we got into that industry. So after a semester of that, I came home and knocked on the door of a funeral home, and here we are, 42 years later.
There you go. So interesting. Now, some of the questions that I would ask you at an in-person SBB University that I think are really valuable to our viewers is talk to me about the importance of pre-planning, because not only is the cost of living going up, but the cost of dying obviously would be going up as well. But talk to me about some of the things that we can do to pre-plan and save our family that stress and anxiety.
Sure. I love people who pre-plan. If for nothing else, it actually does have someone's selections, all the information, everything that's needed. So no one has to guess at the time what someone's wishes were. So it's kind of nice in that respect. It's especially nice that if you were to prepay it, that it does freeze the cost of the funeral at that cost of that day. In other words, if a funeral at that point is $3,500 in the future, that's all you paid for it, even if the funeral had gone up to $4,800. The vehicles that are used are trust funds and insurance policies to set the money aside exactly what's going to be needed for the funeral. And the funeral home will accept at that time whatever the amount is in that trust or insurance as payment in full for the funeral. Now, the one thing that can't guarantee, and sometimes we do, sometimes we don't, are outside charges. A cemetery's charge in the future to open a grave, or cost of an obituary, which we really don't know until the time actually comes. So there's a few things. We can set those funds aside, but if they go over, then we just need to collect the difference. But most of all is on that day that turns out to be one of the worst days of your life, is simply all we need to do is pull a file and everything is there. Signatures have already been done. Nobody has to worry about coming in to sign anything or to figure out when and where things are going to happen. Today, in today's world, we can even do things if you're out of state by DocuSign,
Right.
which is acceptable as far as a notarized signature even. So it's really made things a lot easier, and it's easy for our staff as well. When that day comes and all we have to do is pull a file out and we know exactly what someone wants, it makes our life that much better.
And it's so important to pre-plan because your power of attorney dies with you. So if you think that your power of attorney is going to come in and be able to do all of this stuff, talk to us about some of the legal avenues that people have had to go through.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes people also think that if they put it in their will, but unfortunately the wills are usually read about 30 days after the death. So they're not much help in that respect. So it's nice to have it all written down. It's in a secure place somewhere else. And there you go.
Just that simple. Now, what if I were to pre-plan with your organization and then decide to relocate up north to be closer to my family? What are some of the guarantees that we have with Fuller that, our arrangements will still be honored up north?
Okay, we are part of a network of 1,500 funeral homes. Certainly not the largest corporation, but we're in a size where we have funeral homes in up and down the Northeast and across the Midwest as well as California. So if one of our affiliates couldn't handle it, generally what happens, and this happens to us all the time, is we would ask you to find a funeral home that's close by. We would speak with that funeral home, and 9 out of 10 times they'd accept what was in your policy or your trust fund. Happens to us all the time. Being in Naples, we're in a place where people have moved here to retire and have prearranged funerals with other funeral homes up north. And just as a matter of good faith, we'll 9 out of 10 times, almost 10 out of 10 times, we'll accept payment for that policy as payment in full for the funeral here.
That's good to know. That's really good to know. So, if you happen to be on vacation and out of the country, how does that work with getting your body back to your home state?
Good question. And it does happen sometimes. And the insurance funded funerals can have a rider placed on them, which they call sometimes away from home protection, things of that nature. And what that is, for an additional amount of money, it's usually somewhere between $395 and $495. That company will guarantee that the body's returned back to your base funeral home for the funeral to begin there. And then once the body's here, it's just as if it was originally planned. But those expenses are paid for by a third-party insurance company.
Awesome. That's a question that you just don't really think that you need to ask, but it's a real concern, especially for people that like to travel a lot.
Yeah, world travel, and this company will bring you back from anywhere in the world.
That's great.
That had happened. Yugoslavia, Italy. It does happen. Doesn't happen a lot, but it happens.
Yeah. Now, during this whole pandemic, I know you've had to get pretty creative with your funerals. How has it been with hosting some of these on Zoom? Talk about some of the things that you've overcome during this pandemic.
Yeah, with people not being allowed to travel, or if they do travel, having to quarantine once they arrive here in Florida, or if we were traveling north, we'd have to quarantine there. So what we've done is the funeral home can offer online services. And then it's just as if someone was here. They would log in at such and such a time, receiving an invite from the family as to who they want to join the funeral service. And then even in cemeteries, a lot of times we've been just taking telephones and zoomed from our phone a graveside service going out to anyone who was interested in seeing it. With people not being able to travel, and what's worse than not being able to make a funeral service. But we've seen it happen and tried to accommodate in every way possible.
Yeah, I think that this is the one positive thing I can say about the pandemic is it has forced us to get out of our comfort zone and learn a new reality. And some of those things I'm sure we'll take with us as we go along.
Yeah, we even heard of Zoom before the pandemic.
Yes, absolutely. All right, Kim. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I appreciate you. I appreciate your partnership and what you do for the community at large. And I can't wait to see you again in person.
Yeah, it's coming sooner or later. Thank you, Amanda.